Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wasallam amma ba'du. Praise and gratitude we can pray to attendance of Allah Subhanahu wa taala who has given you healthy blessing. Then we can carry out today presentation activity. And then for the first, let me and my partner introduce ourselves. My name is Novitasari and my partner name is Delani Febrianti. We are from 7th semester from Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, English Department, Universitas Islam Nusantara. And then for the material today is about selecting and developing material, and the point is Coursebook and other ready-made material, tailor-made material, the learner as a resource. And then for open this presentation, let's reading Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And then for the first point can be explained by Delani. Please, Delani, for explain the first point.
Okay, the first is the coursebook and other ready-made materials. Okay, the first point is the coursebook have an advantage for teacher and someone who is under pressure time and lack of experience. Because coursebook provide a solid framework to work with, which is particularly useful for the less experienced teachers or someone who is under time pressure and must be the professionals, which is normally important for business English learners. And furthermore, coursebook come as a part of package that is include comprehensive teacher guides and resources, supplementary material for the students, self-study materials, audio and video resources, and also particularly those for pre-experience groups. They may also provide a window on the business world. And the second point is they are caveat that must be considered when using a published coursebook. Usually, the coursebook can include the culturally background inappropriate culturally background, and they may include the different assumption about the language learning, which do not always fit with the teachers or learners' own perceptions of how best to learning a language. And in this case, this is very important to pay attention the different perspective regarding the coursebook material produced in company and any mass-produced material because students have specific requirements depending on their cultural backgrounds and learning context. And then the price become one of the factors that depending on who is payment. And then the third point is teachers and publisher has a priorities. On the other hand, a teacher has different priorities depending on the experience that they have. Our understanding of how people learning language and may also want a course book that is less technically demanding in terms of the business world. And moreover, the publisher may have different priorities again. Actually, the publisher officiously can see to satisfy the needs of learners and teachers as much as possible. But a book intended for a fairly wide cliently and can always satisfy relative specific needs. After that, next slide, please. Authenticity, the key issue when considering the choice of course book. Okay, the main issue when considering the choice of authenticity, some of teachers argue that the lesson text, maybe it's spoken or written, can come across as cultivated because they are focused on a particular lexis or another form. And there are others argue that There is inherently wrong with using non-authentic language, and that is better to use artificial text which is packaged full of useful lexis or simplify in some way because this is effective and efficient. Also, the issue of the authenticity of activities, for example, how close it to the professional world of the learners. And then the last point is the choosing a course book. There are two ways to choose a course book. That are the first way is the student choose a course book according the material they are need. And the students using the book according to the material they are need and making a commitment for the course objective to be successful. And the second way, the teacher make decisions for the students. Most of the teacher do the selection of book as intuitively, where they are know the function of the books used and what are strength and weakness from the books, and then reflective notes can be written after each unit in the teacher's books, and after that conducting an objective evaluations and giving a feedback can help for the making decision process when the next course is run. And after that this evaluation should consider the perspective of teacher and student. Okay, next material will present by Novitasari.
Okay, thank you. The second point is tailor-made material. What is the meaning tailor-made material? In bahasa, it's mean bahan yang dibuat khusus. Sometimes, learning institution or teacher find it necessary to produce tailor-made material, designed to meet specific needs for use on their own or to supplement a course book. Such tailored material can be lavishly produced by a training department or institute which commission material for specific project or client. And the tailor-made material have 2 points. The first is adapting material. Many teachers build up a huge collection of material as they become more experienced, and this can be easily adapting to suit a particular client or group of learner. This tailoring is not only at the relatively cosmetic level of including a logo or company name or course date on the top of the page, but can also include adapting material that the teacher has already produced for a previous course to look as if it has been custom made. And then sometimes the tailor material are no more than a simple worksheet which has been adapted to include specific vocabulary. See the example. Okay. This one the example. For the first contact, this is an in company course for a group engineer, and the second point or second contact is a mixed level group in a language school. This example showing how vocabulary has been altered for learner into different contexts. And then the second point is generating tailor-made material. The advantage to teacher of making their own material is that this can be much more specific and look right for the part they have to play. And sometimes the creative result of all these investments are so context specific that they can only be used once. And then, how does one write tailor-made material? Preparatory stage include assessment of the learner needs, deciding on priorities, identifying and analyzing language item, working our pedagogical approach, deciding what sort of activities to use, and making decision about layout, and evaluating or piloting early of draft version. Then, in practice, teachers do not create something completely new. There is no need to, but adapt ideas and resort to suit particular situation. Adaptation of existing material takes advantage of work that someone has already done, or including selection of general language item, writing base text, structuring and formatting a document, testing activities with group of learner. Generating new tailored materials usually take more time and effort, not only because it must be designed, but also because the component of the new material need collecting and assembling. And then generating tailor-made material have 3 points. For the first is corpora, or collection of real language data. This point, or corpora, can be a particularly useful resource. It is now relatively easy either to compile one's own corpus of language or to gain access to huge computerized language database. And then the second is concordance. Concordance is a list of phrases, it's showing the same word or language feature taken from a corpus, which allow user to focus on a particular lexical or grammatical or discourse issue. Or concordance are generated electronically, so they may be accessed via the internet. And then a typical concordance program. This one can allow the user to isolate a particular language feature and analyze it in detail. Then the teacher may do this themselves or may ask learner or produce their own concordance. Okay, you can see the example. Here is an example of a concordance of use of market taken from the BNC or British National Corpus. Here the user simple type marker into the query form. For the first screenshot, show market use as a noun. And then for the second screenshot, show market in its infinitive form. Typically, teacher extract a few items from such concordant list and use them in the class. But sometimes teacher wonder if a word phrase in worth spending time and effort on. Corpora allow use to move away from institution to objectively in our effort to develop appropriate and useful material. And then the last is the learner as a resource. The credibility of a teacher can be seen from how relevant we make teaching material. It means because our credibility as teacher is This is partly why tailor-made material are worth serious consideration. But there are other approaches we can take. A very productive approach is to use the learner themselves as a resource. One way of getting useful content is to chat to learner. We know that interaction helps the learning process anyway, but the chat need to be purposive and focused, or we may run the risk of losing student or client. Learner write down key language points which can then be used as reference notes or as a basis for future lesson. Often the business English learner will be bring material such as letter, report, email, brochure, and etc. into the class. There are other ways in which the learner can be utilized as a resource. The main approach are to use framework and to interact with a learner as both a source and user of authentic material. And then for the last last is conclusion. For this session, we are discuss about advantage and disadvantage of using ready-made material, look at the possible procedure for choosing a course book, and then look at some practical issues with using tailor-made material, then look at using the learner as a resource. Okay, we think it's enough for today's presentation, and let's close this presentation with hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. And then for question and comment session, we can carry out in WhatsApp group. And then thank you for your attention and participation. And sorry for our mistake, and have a nice day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.